Okay, good afternoon everyone, Shalom Aleichem. Today I want to speak about the subject of Rabbi Akiva being mefer the Neder of Kalba Savua. The Gemara says on Samach Beis Amud Beis, going on to Samach Gimel Amud Aleph, the Gemara says Rabbi Akiva was the shepherd of Kalba Savua, and Kalba Savua's daughter noticed admirable qualities in Rabbi Akiva, that he was modest, that he had great qualities, and she says, if you go to the yeshiva, will you marry me? If I agree to marry you, will you go to the yeshiva? He agreed, so he married her privately, and she sent him to yeshiva. So the father heard, and he kicked her out of the house, and he made a neder that he will not benefit them from his possessions. So he spent 12 years in the academy. When he came back, he had 12,000 students, and he overheard the old man saying, how long are you going to be like a living almana? So Rabbi Akiva took that. So she said that if he would listen to me, he would go back for another 12 years. So Rabbi Akiva took that as permission, and he in fact went back. He comes back with 24,000 students, and the bottom line is, Kalba Savua was having regrets. He wanted to be made for the Neder. So he heard a great man was coming. The Gemara says, Shama Avua da Asa Gavra Rabbi Lamasa Amar Ezel Gabe Efshe the made for Nederai. So he comes to Rabbi Akiva, Amalei Adaita the Gavra Rabbi Mina Darta. Rabbi Akiva says, did you have in mind that the Neder should be, even if your son-in-law would be a Gavra Rabbah? And Kalba Savua said, no, not at all. I wouldn't have made the neder even if he would have learned one parak, even one halacha. So Akiva revealed himself, I am he. Kalba Savua fell on his face and kissed Rabbi Akiva, and he gave him half of his money. So Tosfos on Samach Gimel Amud Aleph, if you're able to look at it, Tosfos asks, V'im toimar v'haloi asur l'ftayach b'noilad. Noilad is not a valid Pesach for neder. Meaning, something that is a future consequence which was unforeseen at the time of the neder is not a valid neder. Oh, if you would have known that this would have happened. What do you mean? If you would have been a Navi? If you would have been a Navi? I mean, what do you mean if you would have known that this would have happened? Of course that's not a way to make a Pesach and a neder. Someone made a neder, if you would have known that this new eventuality would have occurred, that's not a valid Pesach. Damrinon bin Adarim.
What's the normal case? Normal case of being not a neder?
Normal cases, the person thought they would be able to withstand it. The person says, I'm not going to eat for 2 days. If you would have known that you could not withstand 2 days, you wouldn't have done it. Nothing new happened. It's not a new eventuality. You thought you could hack it, and it turned out you can't. But if something occurred that changed in scenario, that's not a valid Pesach. So what do you mean if you would have known that your son-in-law turned into Rabbi Akiva? But that's not a valid way to be Pesach and Neder. Damrina bin Adarim, Parak Rebbe Lezer, Ketzad, Amar Koinim Sheini Nena Leploini, Vinasa Soifer. It's not a valid Neder. So interesting. Interesting. That's Tosfos' kasha. So Tosfos gives an amazing answer. Tosfos says, "V'yishloimer dehachaloi choshev noilad." Here it's not considered noilad. Kivan shahalach lebei Rav. Since he went to the house of the Rebbi, dederechu. It is usual. It is normal. Behoilech lilmoid, that if you go to learn, shenasa adam gadol, you become a great person. So Tosfos is saying this is not a new eventuality. Nothing new arose. Nothing new came up. He went to the yeshiva. He had already gone to the yeshiva. It's normal that if somebody goes to yeshiva, he becomes an adam gadol. Now, obviously it's not always, otherwise Kalba Savua wouldn't have made a neder. Or probably it's not roiv, otherwise Kalba Savua would not have made a neder. Derech means That's the path. The path of why does a person go to yeshiva? They go to become an Adam Gadol. Now it might not be common, but that's what you're going for. That's the derech. The derech is you're not there to learn one word. You're not there to be regular. The path of a yeshiva is to become an Adam Gadol. So that's not a new eventuality. That's Tosfos. We learned the Tosfos when we were learning this Gemara. The Ran in Masechta Nedarim, I sent you in the Maramakoimos. The Ran in Nedarim asks this question also, and he gives a little bit of a different answer. The Ran asks, Uda Amron, I think on Nun Amud Beis, Uda Amron hacha de shama avua ve'itchil al nidra. That which we say over here, his father heard, and he was mater on the neder. Mefurash b'Kesuvos v'perek afalpi. The pasachle, that he was able to be poisech for him. Ilu have a yadia, if you would have known that hu chasan chatzur merabanan, that your son-in-law is a rabbi, mima adarta, would you have made the neder? Amar loi. So Savua said, afilu perek echad, afilu halacha achas. Ikalak shuye. So the Ran asked Tosfos' kasha, heichi pasach le b'hai pischa. How could you make such an opening? V'ha noilad hu, but it's noilad. U'tnan lekaman, v'perek poischin. We learned later on, the ein poischin b'noilad. So the Ran answers as follows: Yesh loymar deshani hacha, different than Tosfos. Different than Tosfos. Not that it's the derech to become an Adam Gadol, but rather deshani hacha. Here it's different. Rabbi Akiva al dash sheyasa sofer nasa'a. Rabbi Akiva, on condition that he became a sofer, he married her. Kidi isa hasam perk afalpi behedya. The kivan shekain lav noiladhu, the shchiach tuva sheyomoid perek echad v'halacha achas. He didn't marry her on condition he's going to be a great rabbi. He married her on condition he would be a sofer. And for that, all that's required is that you learn one perek and one halacha. Different than Tosfos. Tosfos says it's the derech to be an Adam Gadol. The Ran says he didn't have to be an Adam Gadol because Kalba Savua would not have made the neder had he learned even one perek or one halacha. And learning one perek and one halacha is definitely the derech. That's definitely common, and therefore it is not noilad. So based on this answer, the Shalmei Nedarim addresses another question. If you look on the second sheet of your Maramakoimos, the Shalmei Nedarim discusses that what about the fact, aside from the fact that Rabbi Akiva was being poiseach be noilad, what about the fact that Rabbi Akiva was noigeya bedavar? Rabbi Akiva is the one who stood to gain by Kalba Savua's neder being off. After all, he's the rich father-in-law, and he was made a neder not to benefit his daughter. So since Rabbi Akiva stood to gain, he's noigeya bedavar. How is he allowed to be mater the neder? Yeah, good question. So the Shalmei Nedarim says, "Uviksuvis hanosach shama avua Kalba Savua da asa gavraba lamasa amar ezel agabe efshebe from the roi." So he quotes the Taz, Ayin betaz in Reish Chav Ches of Katan Ches, shehevi kusha b'shem rivash, eich hitter Rabbi Akiva leKalba Savua, but Rabbi Akiva have a noigeya b'davar. Rabbi Akiva was noigeya. The Tiritz the hu loy hitter ba'atzmai al yadei tzirf acher mimai. The Taz brings from the Rivash that Rabbi Akiva didn't matter the neder himself, but he brought others with him. But according to what the Ran says, Gabi Ravina Havale Nidra leDebisu, the Mesafke le Sham de Benidre Ishtay lahater, Efsher da Afilu b'tzirf acher maser. That it says the Shalmei Nedarim, it's not pashut, even if you have others with you, if you're one of the Bezdin, it should not work. Afilu b'tzirf acherim, it should be aser because of ishtay kegufay. So it's like being mater nidrei atzmai. So you have to say that Rabbi Akiva gave reshus to his Talmidim that they could matter the neder. Now, this is the answer I wanted to share with you. The Shami Nedarim quotes the Yadois Nedarim in the Yad Shol Sivkat and Ches. He answers that based on Tosfos and the Ran, that the heter of Rabbi Akiva, how is Rabbi Akiva able to be matter the neder? But ain't poischin benoilad. And Tosfos answers that it's not noilad, because it's the derech that if you go to learn that you become an Adam Gadol, and the Ran explains more. Because since he didn't even make it, if his son-in-law would have learned one parak or one halacha, so it's very shchiach to learn one parak or one halacha. Noilad is something that's not common. So says the Shami Nedarim, quoting the Yadois Nedarim, the kasha of noigea bedavar is also not a question. Why is noigea bedavar? Why is someone who's noigea bedavar? Why can't they be mater? Because we're afraid that if they have a personal bias, they may not look into the matter well. That's only a neder that you need great iyun and investigation to be poiseach. So then we'll be choishesh, you were not ma'ayin well. But over here, where the Pesach is black and white, you don't need great analysis. The Pesach is, if he would have become an Adam Gadol, you would not have made the neder, and it's not a noilad because he was in the yeshiva. So basically, the same reason why it's not noilad, it's not a problem that he's noigea b'davar, because noigea b'davar is only an issue when the Pesach is not black and white. But here the Pesach is black and white, so noigea b'davar is not an issue. Okay, so the Shalmei Nedarim is using this svara of Tosfos and the Ran to answer not only why it's not Pesach benoilad, but it's also not an issue of the fact that Rabbi Akiva stood to gain, so he's noigea b'davar. Okay, Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day. Bracha v'hatzlacha. Kol tov. Thank you. Kol tov.